I told Justin I was never born into religion. I was kind of grown up as an atheist. My mom believed in God, but as I've gotten older, there's a faith and a belief in people's eyes when this is the simplest way I can put it, when they stand for something big, larger than themselves. And the more I connect with that, certainty that if I'm working towards helping others and working towards something bigger than me, literally I can sit here right now so much calmer and so much more fearless because I'm here for that. I mean, I jumped right into, writing songs, and then I had a really huge song when I was really young, and then somehow wrote another really huge song when I was super young, and then another one after that. And none of that was coming from a knowing place, at least. I had no idea what was going on. It was just like all kind of happening. Only in the last 2 years I've realized the real power that music is. And there's something so interesting because I grew up kind of more or less atheist, and now becoming much more spiritual and really being sure there's a God, or sure there's a higher thing, and there's the universe, or whatever you like to call it. Music was the thing that did that for me. Watching Maverick City Choir, I think they're called Maverick City Choir, singing about God, singing about Jesus. I'm sitting there watching this YouTube video and they're singing about Jesus, and I just start crying my eyes out. And I'm like, when you're crying and it's like, this is like something leaving me. Yeah. This is like that type of cry. It's like, and I'm like, how is something that my whole life I've grown up to believe is fanatic and not science and not the truth feel like home because of this song? And then I started listening to not hymns, like mantras, and the same feeling, this feeling of home. And I'm listening to mantras in the morning while I'm stretching, and I'm like, what is this thing?
Like Kundalini type mantras?
Or what are they called? I don't know exactly the word for them, but just the songs from India,
Yeah.
And there's really truly a way that music gets to the soul and creates some. I'm stealing this from the words of Pharrell's uncle in the Netflix series that he just released.
Sweet.
He says, music makes words that people don't want to hear out loud in speech more palatable.
That's right.
It's so much easier to digest through song.
Do you hope to change Ben with your music?
I'm not giving a pointed who I want to change. I think my belief is that all humans are inherently good. I think we're all born inherently good. And I think from conditioning of life and trauma and whatever comes your way kind of creates this version of you, whether you're happy with it or not. And I think that like we were talking about, music is the latter. And if I can just give people that moment of intimacy and glimpse into their own self, where they're like, hey, I could maybe just spark that little spark of light of reflection. Maybe they'll be like, hey, maybe I should just do this one little thing and change.
Well,
I
like the question that you asked about, do you have a incentive to possibly change men or help men? And you want to help all people and touch people. But I'm going to challenge you with something. Because this is what I see. I see a dude right now that we need to be universally massive, which you are doing. Why? Because the way that you sit in your skin, even though I know you have anxiety, which you've talked about it before, I can see it sometimes. The way that you play with the microphone, those are all
they're anxious twitches.
Those are all anxious twitches, but you're here knowing that you have them in front of a camera, making it okay for other men and other boys to think that's a weakness.
Yes.
You're showing that you can be in that and you're still a man. Your humble posture and your sweet voice.
Thank you.
And not this big, loud talk like I seem to always go to is manly, is masculine as well. So to Liz's question, because you're a man and you're 22, and you are saying that I'm finding God or finding a spiritual something greater than yourself, you're giving other boys and other men permission to also search and to acknowledge and be humble. So I'm challenging you to find in your heart that, yes, you want to touch all people, but to know that you are indeed an influence on other men and boys.
And I think that's so important that you said that to me, because I think, like, I really do believe we all have our individual strengths, and maybe mine lays there, you know, or one of them lays there, you know. I really appreciate that. I take that to heart, because it's just important to have that outside perspective too, you know. But the privilege is such a topic of conversation, because so many people can't even break through the first barrier, which is sometimes they say the wrong thing. Like like the smallest, simplest thing you start thinking about the second you realize that, you know, we are all human and we make mistakes. Like, so many people are so trapped in their conditioning that they cannot even get out to do one step in the right direction. And how do we break down that for people? How do we make that a common thing?
By you saying the wrong thing sometimes.
By saying the wrong thing.
And then showing up and saying, I said the wrong thing. Yeah. And yet I'm still here. Sure, and I'm going to try to correct it and show that you don't have to run. No. So that's what you do. You keep doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm wondering,